Greetings. We've returned with our next lesson from the members of Ashtar Command. I am Russ Hatfield, who is mentally connected to my higher dimensional twin soul and member of Ashtar Command, Kara. This astronomy lesson from Omal, channeling through Mark Crocker, was done outdoors for once and is called an astronomy lesson outside. In it, Omal presents a dissertation on astronomy that has always stood out as one of his best on the subject. Included is his pointing out where in the sky the nebula should be, which was once a planet where he had been born. Inside, once again, he shows how the planets, stars, and moon in the sky were the clocks of our lives, ticking off the seconds with every movement they made. The lessons continue as we get to learn about Woodhenge, which was near Stonehenge, and how the Venus creates a very noticeable cycle in the weather. You can follow our online transcript at the link below of our homepage, centerforascension.org. Please subscribe if you want at the end of this lesson to be alerted to future challenge sessions, editorials from Kara and myself, and lessons from the Center for Ascension. And now, an astronomy lesson outside.
Pause the tape, please. Go and get your... Okay. Astronomy lesson.
You're on the extent.
Okay. Astronomy lesson. Okay. Okay. If you look, you have the moon. Okay. Now, in a direct line to the moon, up high, through the trees, you see a red, non-flickering object, correct? That is where we are channeling from.
Okay.
Okay, if you go across, and you should see through the trees there, another non-flickering light. Slightly gold in nature. Actually, that's blue. That is...
Yeah, it's right there, right?
Yes, that is Jupiter. Okay. Unfortunately, due to the trees, you can just see it through the trees. Okay, if you look up high, you have Saturn. Look directly up.
Right.
That is a special globular cluster.
You mean that little cloudy thing right there, right above it?
Correct.
There's 3 stars right there. Looks like Orion's belt almost.
No, there is a lot more than 3 stars there. I count from here with the eyes I am using. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Oh, there we go.
7,
Is that the
8.
Pleiades?
Yes.
Ah. Yeah.
But further on, through the Pleiades, on the other side of the globular cluster that you cannot see, is a special place. This is now a nebula.
Ah.
Let us return inside so you do not freeze. You are coughing.
Just the cold. So, what's the special place?
That is now a nebula.
Yeah. That's your old home planet?
That once was my home planet.
Okay. Yeah, that's refreshing.
Yes, I thought it would be interesting. A quick astronomy lesson for you. Okay. When was the last time we gave you an astronomy lesson?
Oh, we went camping
Correct.
when we saw a tall ship.
Correct. Unfortunately, it's not as punctual as one would like.
Oh, he's supposed to be in it?
Correct.
Oh, you mean flying across the sky?
Yes.
Oh, well. It was a shot.
Well, punctuality can be sometimes a weak point of pilots.
Yes.
Due to other circumstances, apparently.
No problem.
Okay. Astronomy. The importance of stars. Now, certain visible things within the night sky. Unfortunately, the lead was not long enough to take you on a full trip to explain. What we were looking for was Orion, the hunter, Osiris. And below Osiris is a very bright star, which is...
Sirius.
Correct. These 2 pointers tell you something important. they tell you the time of year. With the configuration of stars, it tells you the time. Orion and Sirius, in the position that they are, with the 3 planets that were pointed out, tell you the time of year and their relationship, if you know, tells you the exact date. How does this work? Well, your planets orbit your sun, and they will be in only certain positions, in certain alignments, once every so often. Now, by measuring the movement of the surrounding stars in relationship to them, tells you the time of year and the exact date, because the configuration will appear only once. That exact configuration. So astronomy is not only being able to look at the night sky, it tells you the time. It tells you whereabouts your planet is in the galactic disk. For example, on December the 9th, 1997, Osiris was in the night sky, flanked by Jupiter, Mars, and close to the moon, Saturn. Knowing the distance from Saturn to the moon in your night sky, how far it measures, knowing how far Saturn is from Mars, and Mars is from the moon, and knowing how far Jupiter is from Mars, Saturn, and the moon, all 3 of those, gives you the information on the time. Knowing what else is in the night sky gives you the time of year. Knowing where the constellations are to present at that time of year gives you the exact date. Now, if we were to go back out and stand exactly where we were and look up at the night sky, you would have noticed that there has been movement. Only maybe half of a degree, but movement nonetheless. That is the ticking of the clock. How far the moon has moved away or towards Saturn is another indication of time. See, we're now narrowing it down into minutes. Noting how far the moon had traveled in the night sky now brings it down to seconds. You see, astronomy is more than able to help you navigate. It helps you tell the time. Yes.
I want to insert something real quick. Recently, I heard somebody tell me that there is a Stonehenge-like construction that's been found in Britain that's much bigger than Stonehenge, and was completely buried, and it's complete. It's not destroyed in any way.
Unfortunately, that is half-truths. It is destroyed. And it wasn't destroyed by anybody in particular. And this is not that far away from Stonehenge.
What's the story on it?
Basically, it rotted. It was called Woodhenge. Wood being easier to work with. Same configuration, just thinner and larger.
So it was the predecessor to Stonehenge?
They were present at about the same time.
I mean, was one used as a model for the other, maybe?
No. One served one purpose and the other served another purpose. Different times of the year. Different functions.
Okay.
But, as astronomers, as an astronomy, what is it tonight with words? One is confused by that. Explaining Stonehenge in astronomical terms is quite correct. It is both a lunar and a solar calendar. It is a common misconception that it is purely one. It is both. It is used for both purposes. The history of the nations that worshipped there changes over a period of time, so that it was remodeled, rearranged, and used differently in different points of the history. Much like the burial practices in ancient Egypt.
So essentially, what they call the sacrificial stone, which is the center of Stonehenge, could either be that, or it could actually be a spot from which to chart the planets from.
Correct.
A sitting spot so that it's a constant point to measure the distance planets have traveled within the night sky.
Correct. It is very unlikely that it would be offered or used as a human sacrifice spot, although it was not unknown at times of great stress, of great difficulty. However, that would not be its primary use.
Right. And the same would be said for Woodhenge also.
Correct. But let's get back to the functions of Stonehenge.
Right.
Not as a sacrificial site, but as an observatory to observe the procession in the night sky of key stars and constellations. In fact, by looking at those stars, the priest astronomers were doing a very important job. They were telling the time. They were telling the seasons. And by using calculations, the priest astronomers could calculate when to plant. Now let us move across the globe to the Americas. And let us look at a certain movement in the night sky of Sirius. Sirius works on an 8-year cycle. But within the cycle, no, let me rephrase that, correct myself. Venus works on a 7-year cycle. And within its orbital path, I believe, although I'm not an astronomer, there are, I think, four paths that it follows in its cycle through the night sky of your planet. And where it is tells you what cycle it is in and how the interaction is with your planet because of the circular motion or activity of the sun. Now, in its cycle, it will pass through certain constellations at certain times. I beg your pardon. And with its behavioral patterns, if you're a keen astronomer, you can predict where it will be to the exact second in time, 500 years into the future. What purpose this serves is up to the individual. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah. A lot of what Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid, and the Mayans were interested in was in the position of Sirius.
Mhm.
And I would assume this stems from the Atlantean connection between the
Correct.
three.
And also Venus.
Why Venus? Because of the 7-year cycle?
Correct.
Well, what would the 7-year cycle have to do with planting or anything?
A little bit of maths, please. 7 years ago was when?
1990.
And what happened in 1990?
A little conjunction.
No, on your planet.
An election.
No.
That wasn't the convert. That was harmonic convergence, right? No, it wasn't.
Getting closer.
Yeah, that was harmonic convergence or something like that.
Also, it was a very dry year.
What was it?
Very dry year. Seven years before that.
That's right. I was here. That's right, and it was pretty dry.
7 years before that was 83. Correct?
Right.
What happened in 1983 of that year? Weather-wise.
I'm gonna say another dry year.
No. It was a very wet year.
Around 7-year cycles, 14-year cycles.
Pretty close to it, actually. So, observing over a long period of time where Venus is in its orbital path on one of its 7-year cycles tells you a lot.
Wow.
Okay, it is now 1997. And Venus is actually starting another one of its cycles.
El Nino.
Took a long time to get there, did it not?
21 years.
And this is shaping up to be a wet year. So, what does this tell us? It tells us that astronomy of localized astral bodies, such as Venus, helps you to work out the cycles. However, the cycles aren't constant, unfortunately. They do fluctuate in the weather. But as a rule of thumb, it goes wet, dry, wet, dry. However, there are instances where it will go dry, 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 dry for several hundred years. We will address that at a later time. And the fragile nature and then the importance of the weather fluctuation in Tia's projections. Thank you, Russ. Any questions? Okay.
Farewell.
Live long, prosper,